Good evening from the Raeburn lab. Just waiting for a few people to start to join the conversation with a little luck. Fantastic, we are up and running. So just to let you know, I'm here in the Raeburn lab. This is our design studio. We're based over in Hackney, so East London. And today I'm going to be joined by a very, very special guest indeed, who is one of the most incredible photographers I've ever had the real pleasure to, I was about to say meet, but the truth is I've never met him in person, and unfortunately COVID's kept us apart. But an amazing individual, Ragnar Axelsson, and we're going to be speaking with Ragnar and learning a lot around the work that he does, his perspectives, not just on photography of course, but really around a changing world. And yeah, today it's part of our Raeburn Connect series. So the whole thing with Raeburn Connect, it's something we started actually back at the beginning of lockdown, the first lockdown, and it's all about bringing together craft, creativity and community. And really importantly, it's about an open dialogue. It's myself or other members of the Raeburn team speaking with incredibly talented people. And really, really importantly, it's also about you guys as well. So this is the key with Raeburn Connect. So when I'm joined by Ragnar, please do feel free to ask any questions, either of myself, but more importantly, of course, from Ragnar, because tonight's all about him. So I'm hoping that Ragnar's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes as well. And for now, I'm just going to wait and continue our little tour and just show you a little bit more about what we do here at the Raeburn Lab. So everything that you'll see in our studio space, and as I mentioned, we're in Hackney, so East London. Everything that you'll see behind me has either been remade from something else, it's fully recycled, organic cotton or merino wool, and we call it remade, reduced or recycled. And that's our whole focus as a business. And the really cool thing and what's kind of quite unique about us is that we do all of the machine work for the remade pieces right here as well. So that is a little bit about Raeburn. I'm hoping that we're going to be joined by Ragnar as well. So I'm going to hopefully bring Ragnar into the conversation. So and we're going to see if Ragnar joins us as well. And there we go.
Oh, hi.
Fantastic, Ragnar. How about that?
It works.
It does work indeed. So I think it's good for the audience to know that this is your first ever Instagram Live as well, Ragnar. So I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. I'm just going to say a few words about you, Ragnar, because I think it's so important that the audience understands a little bit more, obviously, about your work. And then I'm going to be talking about why it's been so special and such a big part of my kind of creative journey as well. So I hope I'm not going to make you blush at all, but I think what's really unique about your work is, of course, that for the last 40 years, you've really been documenting this disappearing world. So the people, of course, the animals and the landscapes in the Arctic. And it's pretty incredible, the work that you've been doing, these beautiful, stark black and white images. And we're going to be seeing a few of those from the books that I have here. And it's pretty extraordinary, I think, the world that you've been living through. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more about you. And then I just really wanted to tee things up by actually saying how I feel like we came to meet each other, but the truth is we've never met. So I went to an exhibition back in 2013 called The Last Days of the Arctic. And it was a beautiful little gallery space over in Chelsea. And I saw your work there for the first time. And the images that we have here, and I just opened the book kind of randomly, if I may, and hopefully it evokes some pretty good memories for you, are absolutely stunning. And they're, for me now, still just incredibly almost fond memories to look back on. And the cool thing is they inspired the pieces behind me here. So back in 2014, we then did a collection based on the last days of the Arctic. So my first thing, and I'm going to be quiet now, is just to say thank you, Ragnar, because you inspired me then, and I'm so proud to be talking to you now. And
thank you.
Yeah, as I tee things up, importantly today is, of course, it's about the audience. It's an open conversation. And we're going to try and put a bit of a flow together, if you will, based around a little bit around your career. And so we'll kick off just with the first question, really, about that first book. And obviously, it was very impactful to me. But then I just really want to understand, I suppose, why and where you started, step one, and what all this means to you.
Yeah, well, I was really honored when I saw your work, from the exhibition, and I was really thrilled and grateful. But I think the start actually from the interest in the life in the Arctic came from the old explorers that were where I was reading it as a kid. So, and for a photographer, you always want to do something. I think most of us, if you have a passion for something and drive, you want to do something and get the picture. That's the quest all your life. But I was traveling like in Africa and all that, and I felt like there was all photographers in the world were there. So I decided to go where nobody was, and that was in the Arctic. And when I wasn't thinking about in the beginning climate change or anything like that. I was freezing most of the time, but it was. But I found that life very remarkable life, and there were few photographing this life. It's difficult, it's hard, it's cold, and you have to be very passionate to do it. And I felt like I had to give them a voice, because when you got to know the people, they were very nice people and friendly, and they were worried. Later on, I found there was an old man in Thule in Kanak, in a little village, and he was always talking to me when in Greenlandic, which I don't speak actually, when I passed his little cabin, and I asked a teacher in the village to translate for me, and the old man said it was that I had been photographing for 5-6 years, and he said, "There's something wrong. It shouldn't be like this. The big ice is sick." He meant the glacier there was something different happening in
the big ice is sick.
It was a glacier, the big glacier. So I started thinking about it from then and started documenting life, and you see it's changing. It's been changing, and now it's changing even more.
So, as I mentioned earlier, we really welcome any questions from the audience. So please don't be shy at all. We've got a shout out to Afram Island there, Rax. I'm sure you know Afram quite well. But I suppose it's interesting, even just picking up on your comment there. You used to be really cold, actually.
Yeah.
Doing, and presumably in the time that you've been documenting now, of course, things have changed markedly.
Yeah, it's still cold. I mean, I was there, 1.5 years ago, 2 years, in March, I think. And my fingers froze, my hands are freezing, and my toes, and I don't have any feelings in the thumb finger. It hurts kind of, and it's all my fingers are numb. It's coming back hopefully slowly, but you forget when you're absolutely concentrated on taking photographs in that. It was -49 with the wind chill on the ice, and you forget it happened in 10 minutes, and I'm still, hurting because of that. But I got great photographs that I was pleased with, and that's the main thing. And I wanted to, just a month after that, when I left, the dogs were running in slush. It was melting very fast, actually. So, but it goes quite fast. What's happening? And what they're worrying them is that the ice is getting thinner and thinner. Dogs are going down. Population of dogs was 30,000 10 years ago. Now they're gone to 11, 12,000. So it's just a lot of changes with the young generation doesn't want to be living that life. And I don't hunt myself, but I must respect them for having to do that, because it was a hunt they don't hunt for fun. They hunt to survive. So, and they can't go to the shops like we can in some of the smaller villages. So, but it's always, sad moment seeing it sometimes, but it's their life, and that kind of life is changing, and the young generation is not very keen on being hunters. Only, they have to have a new job, and the reason we're doing this book, like the glacier book we did, and now the new book, and it's just to open people's eyes for what is happening, without preaching anything, just let people think there's life there, it's beautiful life, and they have to find a new way, some of them, to get new kind of way of living.
Absolutely, it's an amazing sentiment there that your images really do the talking, right? Because they're so powerful. And
I'm glad to hear that. So thank you.
no, and it's honest. I mean, they meant a lot to me then, and continue to do so. We have obviously a few lot of questions that have come through. Some are pretty obvious or quite straightforward, I think. But I'm going to ask things as well, which is sort of digital or real film, and you've obviously seen a great change as well in technology through this 40-year period. So I'd love to hear, and we had that question through around digital or real film, and your opinions.
I do both film and the digital. I mean, the digital cameras are so great today. It wasn't great in the beginning, and sometimes when you're in extreme cold, when the batteries are out, the film cameras never fail actually. So it's good to have like a spare tire when you're traveling like that. So but today it's much easier to travel with digital cameras than wearing like a lot of films, like 200 rolls of films. They're heavy, so it's and the quality of it is very, very good. So I was against it, for years. I'm never going to do digital, but then you have to do it. And I grew up in I have thousands of hours in the darkroom, so it comes from printing and the love in photography, seeing a picture coming up when you're developing in a darkroom. And I do the digital thing. I do the same thing I could do in a darkroom, nothing more than that. You can do photographs, all in Photoshop Lightroom. You can do all kinds of things, and a lot of people are doing. It's like they can do whatever they like. But in documentary work, you cannot. Certain things you cannot do. You can't, change the colors. It's like some pictures are like very colorful, which is like colors you hardly see on the planet, But it's all right when you're doing for certain purposes. It's all right. But documentary work has to be honest.
Yeah, there's an amazing, I think, synergy as well around this thing around craft and the people, of course, that you're seeing. Amazing the skill that they have. That again, it's fading. But I think, you're doing everything you can to still document that. But then what you mentioned earlier around still there's, I think, of course, things are changing, but I hope also there's hope. People are evolving the way that they're working in these areas. But I'd be really interested because I know, some of these traditions go back 4,000 years, right?
Right.
Incredibly talented people are still obviously operating with. I'd be interested just to hear a little bit about some of your experiences and how they've affected your work, or even some of your favourite people over that period. I know it's a tricky question, but that's something for me, really, a personal one.
No, I mean, it's like those people are very nice, and sometimes it takes a little time just to get to, gain their trust, and you talk to them. And like when we did the dog book, I had to get beautiful stories from the hunters, which they didn't want to tell. It took a long time to get them, some of them. And the dog is like a human, and the stories how the dog rescued you and all hope was over because of a storm. They took you home. And those stories is remarkable. It's like a movie, when I was listening to it when they finally opened up. But being with them, photographing them, and I had to stay with them for a long time on the ice. I was in a tent, sleeping on the ice or in a small cabin. You didn't know if anybody was alive in the world. You couldn't call anybody or anything. But then you start to mingle with them, kind of, and get very like close friends. And we played. Cards, I always lose, so I lost my gear.
That helps, right?
So I had to make a deal to wear my clothes on the way back home, and I gave them, my friend, I gave him my extremely warm jacket, and he needed it more than I did when I got back, so I was really happy with it, but they cheated in the cards anyway, so so it was okay. But when you get to know them and fool around with them, having fun, I become like a fly on the wall, and so I try to photograph them as things happen, and try to get them off guard, to get the expression on faces and put them in the environment. Like if you watch like great painters paint like Rembrandt, Caravaggio, and the light in the pictures and all that, and how they put people are looking. You see all the faces are doing something, and I try to catch that. I really love those paintings and learn from that. I sometimes wonder if we could make those great painters alive. How would they take photographs? Nobody knows,
Amazing.
but it would be very, exciting.
What an amazing provocation. And I think on the line, and certainly then also following up as well, we're going to have a lot of young photographers, a lot of young creatives as well. What an
There are
amazing...
there are so many great young photographers, and also when you watch like on Instagram and all that, you see a lot of great stuff. But I would like to see it in books, so it lives forever, because it's like a newspaper. It fades away, and it goes. You see it this day, and then you don't go back. A week later to watch, at least.
Yeah.
But so and the old masters that like Eugene Smith, Don McCullin, Max Gray, Marielle Mark. People should watch those photographs and what they did and how passionate they are in the doing what they're doing. And like Don McCullin is extremely great. He's like the Beatles in photography. It's great.
Fantastic. So that's amazing, because you've obviously answered the original question about some of those the people that you've met in these amazing villages, but then also brought it back to the reality of the world that we live in today. And I suppose within all of this, if it's not too difficult a question, as a creative, do you feel a real sort of obligation to sort of highlight some of these issues, almost like a sense of duty? Because you sort of you touched on it a little bit earlier, but it'd be great to hear a little bit more. The way you think about things is quite amazing. I think the audience will love it.
I feel the obligation to show the world. It's like a little piece in a bigger puzzle. And when you put like the books we're doing, Glacier, now the dogs and all that. So, and that's life. And we're doing a book about the old 8 Arctic countries. And I've probably finished with 60% of photographing. It's very tough to do it. And I love doing it. Russia is great, and Siberia is great. It's cold like Greenland, but people are friendly and nice. So, but
if I may, you're being very modest. So the book you're talking about now, that you're 60% of the way through, it's taken at least 3 years to start. Then COVID hit, right? And so now it's at least another year.
Yeah, so it's more. Yeah, I think so. The COVID has changed it a little bit, this virus. But I've been probably collecting together it for 15, 20 years, something like that, but now then we're doing this book because the Arctic will be, after this virus is gone, the Arctic will be the biggest issue on the planet in coming years. So I think it's very important to show life in this area, in the Arctic. And we all have to face, what's happening. It's like, it is warming, we know that. And we have to be aware of it. And I'm not saying all wheels should be stopped, but we have to be positive and try to do things for all of us to, change
Fantastic.
Things and do.
So Rax, if I may, just for the audience to hear, the book that you mentioned earlier, which is really around the people, was called The Faces of the North.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned about the dog book, and we're going to come on to that and give that a name. But I just wanted to talk about Glacier. Because when I heard that you were doing this, and I'm just going to show again the beautiful book, which we have here at the studios, Glacier, Ragnar Axelsson. Again, these incredible images, which hopefully I can do justice. But please do follow Ragnar on Instagram and have a look at all of these incredible, stunning photographs. How long did these take to pull together, this one?
It was about 3 years, I think. 3, 4.
Because, for us in the fashion world, right, we can go sometimes from having an idea in the morning, you do a sketch, and if you have your own studio, you can make that idea in the afternoon, right?
Okay.
So, of course, even to put together a whole collection, 6 months, kind of maximum.
That would be great.
Yeah, you like that idea?
Yeah, that would be a good idea, because I was kind of it came up, started taking pictures, because what I do in the Glacier, if you look at the Glacier book and if you look at each picture for some time, you can find all kinds of forms and figures and faces in it. Like the cover, it's like a bird, and I started flying over the glaciers, and it's all I flew in. It's not a single drone photograph. It's just from my airplane. And my friend Einar, he's a designer of the books. He's a great designer, and we would kind of ping pong back and forth to do those photographs. And I was really pleased doing it. I usually have people on the pictures, but I had so much fun doing it. But I thought somebody would throw eggs at me when this book will come out, but it didn't happen, and it's almost sold out now. And we had an exhibition which was a lot of people came and very happy about that one. But it was like my poem or an ode to the glaciers, which will, in Iceland, the glaciers will disappear in 150, 200 years, according to scientists. So it was like, you know, for the future generations to see it. We're probably not gonna print it again. So it will be like a collector's item in 2 years because it's almost sold out. And yeah, it's so. And if you take 100 years,
buy your copies now to the audience. Yeah,
a few left. But in 100 years, 150 years, all this will be totally changed. And it's all the ash forms of the acids from the volcanoes. And you can. The best thing to photograph it is here in Iceland. It's you can see it in Antarctica, but it's very expensive to fly and do that. But here you can go in a day. And I flew as often as I could over the glaciers, and there was always something new to see. And when the light is changing, it's absolutely beautiful. You can forget yourself just flying above those.
And so, do you mind just to explain a little bit more around? We have these beautiful images, which of course you took.
That's Greenland, actually.
This is Greenland, but maybe you can explain a little bit more around the image and the area.
Yeah, it's on the east coast of Greenland. I was flying just in a small plane above the ice, and so yeah, that comes from that. And this used to be like this area used to be this fjord used to be frozen. Now it's more like open water like that. You have iceberg floating around. So and I have photographs taken on the same spot, same time of year, 20 years in between. And it was frozen. The fjord was frozen. Semmelink fjord was frozen. And 20 years later, it was open water. We had to sail. And when we did the book now in the dog book, and I had to sail in between icebergs in storm in a little dinghy or in a small boat to get back home. It took us 10 hours just to sail and take a dog sled back to safety. And the village closed.
And how long would that have taken previously to travel when of course it was ice and snow?
You never know sometimes how long because if there's storm, you can, and you lose your flights and everything. So you might have to stay for 10 days more or something like that. But sometimes when you're traveling, you have to be, ready for, you're going to stay here for some time.
So for any potential young photographers, I think sounds like you have to be very flexible and very stubborn.
Yeah, but they should go. It's a beautiful place. And also here in Iceland, the glaciers are beautiful, and it's so much fun. And there's a lot of photographers coming. Like in tourism there was a lot of tourists coming, and I want them to feel welcome, and they are welcome. And I had fun seeing all the people coming and photographing Iceland, and also I think I urge them to go to Greenland too, because it's really something there's always something new. You see always something new.
That's fantastic to hear such positivity about the tourism side of things. I mean, within RÆBURN, we really firmly believe that all of this is about collaboration. It's about partnership. It's about trying to make positive changes together. And it's about being welcoming. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the same. We are living on this planet, so why not work together instead of
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to show you something a little bit different because he's good fun.
He's nice.
Yeah. So this one is.
He's rather big, though.
Do you think? I think he's to scale, right?
Oh, you put it close to the camera. Oh,
yeah. He was just close.
It looked like an elephant when you put
it. So if I put him next to my head, you have an idea.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's close.
Is that around the right size for a puffin?
I think so. Maybe a little bigger, but it's close to it.
So these guys, we do each season. In fact, we do a different animal mascot, and then we do workshops where we teach people how to make them. and then we give the proceeds to the Worldwide Fund for Nature. So it's just an example of kind of bringing together, I think, creativity, community, and of course charity in this instance. So one of these guys will be coming to you. Do not worry, Rex.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, of course. So you've mentioned a couple of times about the dog book.
Yeah.
But I want to put a name to it, really importantly. So it's called Arctic Heroes. And you're publishing now, I believe. I saw things being printed a week or so back. But you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I know this has been a project, again, that you've been thinking about and working on for a while. So it'd be great to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, it's been a long project, actually. But the idea doesn't come from me, actually. It came from my friend Marielle and Mark, photographer, and my wife. They were drinking coffee and they were, hitting at me saying, "Why don't you do a book like that?" I was, "Oh, yeah, why not?" So it didn't leave my head. So I had to do it, and I started doing that. And because they're like humans sometimes. Some of them were clever, and the stories behind them, how they rescued their masters, when everything was over. It's great stories. And like one of the story, we named our company Can Do, our publishing company Can Do, with after one of the stories, a dog in the stories. Can Do means black dog, which I didn't know. You can think about it then. Isn't it black dog? Isn't it about being
a little different?
A little, yeah. But
yeah.
But we didn't think about that. We are very happy. But that dog, he was with the hunter. The hunter was he was angry at his grandfather. He didn't catch much, and there was an old hunter who followed him, and so you have to be positive. I'm going to give you a little puppy, and he saw that puppy when he was very small, opening his eyes. He was tipping his head, and his ears click clack, and they became friends instantly. They were hunting together, for 6 years until a polar bear kills it in the end. And it's a very sad moment, to make a long story short, that in the end, when the polar bear kicks him off, he was hanging on his back, he kicks him off and he broke his spine, and he was lying in the snow and his rear legs were turning upwards. And he called his friend, and he's telling, when he told me the story about that, he looked him in the eyes and he tilted his head like a little puppy before, and he licked his face, and his hand looked him in the eye once again, closed his eyes and put his head on his hand. He knew it was over. Wow. And he had said things a month before when he was hunting. He said, "You can't do that. I let polar bear chase you if you do that." And the old hunter said, "Don't say what you say in the nature here. It can hit you back. Don't say things like that. You have to be positive. You have to be careful what you say, because you're in a special place, and it's like nature is talking to you." And he asked him then and said, "Do you remember what I told you a month ago?" And he said, "Yes, you will have. I'll let polar bear get you, and it's hitting me back. You have to bring him down. I can't see him in this pain." So, and when he told me that story 4 years later, he was crying, and he said, "I have to tell you more stories later. I can't talk like that now." It took me a year to get him to tell me these stories. Yeah. And there wasn't any more stories because he passed away a few months later. So he had said earlier, those stories will go with me to the grave. He took a lot of them with him. But I got a few stories from him, which were beautiful, which I wrote in the book.
Wow, that's beautiful. And the book at the moment, it's coming out very, very soon, I believe.
Yeah, it will be in 10 days or so. It will be in Kerr in Germany. It's published in England and around the world from Kerr. And we will have, our little company will do it here in Iceland. So we're very pleased with working with Kerr. They're very great people, and it's been great fun.
Wonderful. Well, I can't wait, obviously, to receive our copy here. And Ragnar, just to say thank you for that story, because you've never shared that with me before. But I think I speak for everyone listening. It's really, really beautiful, and I think there's a lot we can learn, and it's very touching. So thank you.
Thank you.
We had a few questions in advance, actually, of the conversation, because we put things on Facebook and then also on Instagram. And just to remind anyone listening now, please do ask any questions, and I should see them come up on the feed. And Ragnar and I will do our best to answer them. But we have a few here that are around kind of next steps, really. And if we put COVID to one side, because we know at the moment we have limitations for travel, but we've got one which was around whether you plan really to continue just within the Arctic, or if you've got your eyes set on other projects. And as you mentioned earlier, there are so many photographers in other areas. Maybe it is just all about the Arctic for you, but it would be great to hear.
It is. It's a plenty to do in the Arctic. I mean, a lot of people could do great things actually. And what we're doing now is just this life of like. I think the book will be. We don't know. Lena will design it, but it will be like the old talking together. You know, we put all kinds of activities or life in the Arctic. There's really, really great things happening with you know, we go to small villages or whatever, you see something different that people haven't seen much, and it's hard to travel in some areas, but I have the feeling that it has to be done and shown in photographs. But I would really like to do, when I'm doing now, I'm doing is telling stories behind my photographs on the internet here in Iceland, and then I realized that, oh shit, did I do that? It was a lot of things that I was in danger. You know, it flew in volcano eruptions, and it was quite close quite often. But I really would like to photograph tornadoes, and you know.
Wow. Okay.
So,
as long as it's dangerous, you're into it.
Yeah, because it's always, you know, great to get back alive.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But sometimes you have to be I get more and more careful, you know. But I was, when you're younger, nothing can kill you, so it was like stupid sometimes. But yeah.
So we had a question come through that was around whether you plan now maybe to be doing more collaborations and partnerships. Hopefully I've not scared you off, Ragnar.
No.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that can be great. I don't mind actually.
Maybe not just with Raeburn, but within other brands, because I hope what's exciting here is it's quite unexpected.
No, I'm very happy with collaboration with you. It's really, really. I was always happy when you did when I saw it on the. Wow, this is great. That's just really. So I was very, very happy, you know, and.
Fantastic. We've got the comment here as well. Just if this is your first Instagram live, please don't let it be your last. So, you know, that's it's a request from the audience as well. I think people have really enjoyed.
Oh, really? I really like a little boat in the mist. I come sometimes out and honk, you know, and then I go back in the mist. That's what, you know, because I'm kind of a shy person actually, but I have to talk about it, you know, what we're doing and put those books out and all that. And but I always feel like what I'm doing is about the people that I'm photographing, and it's not about me. It's not. I never hardly had photographs on me in the books, but it's in the new book it is. And so I just wanted to be like nobody could see who I was, but I can't do that anymore, I think.
No, well, I think I hope that so many. Oh, you see a few more questions coming through. That one I missed. I'm sorry, Ragnar.
Okay.
We did have one. We kind of touched on it earlier, just in terms of. I want obviously this to be again on the positive, but we do have now so many more people visiting these areas, and you of course said the tourism factor's fantastic. But do you also, I mean, when you think it's really escalated, let's say in the last 5 to 10 years, do you see any of the issues with that as well? Again, I suppose without it being too negative.
You mean?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite ask the question correctly. I suppose it's whether you've really noticed the impact of the tourism, just in terms of the impact on nature, because obviously it's such an incredible landscape. Because obviously the people bring benefit, and there's so many. It's so important that people see, but then also I'm guessing there's some pretty, let's say, detrimental effects as well.
I think it will be all right when we, you know, because hit us like a boom, you know. So the infrastructure wasn't probably ready for some of it, but I think it's being, you know, people are thinking about it, and I think people you can feel like, you know, there's so many places you can go and you feel like you're alone, you're on the moon. You know, it's Highland is you can be in certain places, and I think people would have to just spread around more, and we would have to show people more places that they can see, which are remarkable, instead of going to the same place. Like Gullfoss, you know, it's a special waterfall that most people go to, and when you it's usually crowded there, and so there's a lot of other great places that it's just as beautiful as those places. So there will be space for people to be like and feel like you're not in the crowd.
So the advice maybe is to be more like Ragnar and go off the beaten track and see the unexpected, right? And I suppose, Rax, another we're just going to ask a couple more quick questions, and do feel free to ask any more just while we're going to wrap up here. But if you put yourself now back in, let's say, a young photographer studying in the world today, what advice would you have right now? So if you put yourself back almost to being the 20-year-old fearless Ragnar, I'm always kind of interested whether you'd approach things in the same way, or the advice that you would have.
I always, like, some of my friends said that photography is over, and I used to say, no, it's not. You just have to run faster. You know, have to, you know, believe in what you're doing. And of course, it has changed a lot because of media world, newspapers, magazines. They're not using photographs as they used to, and they, like, not even National Geographic just send people like they did. But I urge young photographers to continue, you know, because I believe that it will come back, and photography is not dead at all. I mean, it's and I believe it should be, people should be, young photographers should aiming for doing books. I love books. I mean, young generation is on the internet, but I think it's like I want to believe that it's like the vinyl record. It's coming back. It's like holding that one is it's a great feeling when you grew up with that instead of little CDs, or, you know, or just on wherever you listen to music. But it's, I want to believe that. And also there's, on the internet, there's a lot of things to do and show.
So actually a really important question. Do you have any exhibitions coming up? And again, like, lots of people want to know where they can see your work, right?
Yeah, so we are making exhibitions from the books, and it's going to be in France, it's going to be in Germany, and we're going to make one big one here. So I think they might travel to other galleries, and it's good galleries that are you know, offering us to have those, or helping to, you know, want to have the exhibition. I'm really happy about that, and we are, because it's it's like a little voice. It's like when you have many little dogs barking, you get a lot of noise. So it's a part of that. And
I hope that everyone's writing these quotes down, because they keep on coming. Amazing. Fantastic. And of course, we're hoping that you'll be able to visit London. I know you had the plan to be here in November, but of course, everything's had to change a little bit.
I'll see you in London one day. I think the most dangerous place on earth. I always look right instead of left.
I'll look after you. Don't worry, Max.
So I think but I love London. Actually, it's really great.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think that's a really good point to wrap things up, and really just with my absolute humble and heartfelt thanks, Rax, because it's been amazing to speak to you, and I think everyone's enjoyed this as much as I have. So thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you. So take care. I'm going to do a little toast to say thank you.
You have beer, I have coffee. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Christopher. Bye-bye.
And thank you to everyone else.